Welcome back to Derry Public Radio. Reporting from the basement of the Derry Civic Center, this is Joshua Kahn with the news. In local news, our studio was recently vandalized. Somebody broke in, carved "Nadine will be my queen" into the floor, and in much sloppier handwriting next to it was written, "Skarsgård makes my heart hard." If anybody has any information of who might...
I didn't do it.
You're listening to Derry Public Radio.
This is Derry Public Radio. Welcome back to Derry Public Radio, a bi-weekly Stephen King Book Club podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Sam Alexander, alongside Joshua Kahn.
Hey, everybody.
And Benjamin Graham.
Hello, constant readers.
And today we are back with The Sit, our discussion of and reaction to the latest episode of The Stand. And Josh is leading our discussion.
Yeah. So, episode 3, Blank Page. We all get to be together to watch it again.
Yay!
That's exciting. It's always so much better when we all three get to be together.
Yeah.
It just adds to it so much.
Extra nice when you test negative for COVID-19. It makes watching this show slightly less existentially dreadful.
You'll get less of the fear sweats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I heard you get less of the fierce wets.
Oh no, that scene at the end with Nadine and Flag gave me some fierce sweats. Let me tell you.
I'm not proud of any of us right now.
I'm just glad we could all be fierce sweats together. Oh my god. Yeah, so episode 3, Blank Page. Very excited that we got Nick Andros.
Yay.
Guys, we got way more Nick Andros. And we got way more Nadine than I was expecting. I initially, with the formula we've been following, I was sure this episode was going to be Nick Andros and Trash Can Man. What did you guys think? What did you anticipate coming into this episode?
Well, last episode we talked about how we thought we might get more of the characters we've already had to finish them out. So the only thing that really surprised me was that we didn't really get any more Rita.
Yeah, she's gone now. And
she died off screen, and Heather Graham deserves better.
Yeah, it's the problem with the original book of the woman's death being used as motivation for the man's story.
Mm-hmm.
Not great, but I don't know. I think at the end of the last episode, I predicted that this was going to be Nadine's episode. If anything, I was just disappointed we didn't get more of Nadine and
Joe.
Larry and Joe meeting. Because we only get like one scene of Knife Joe.
Yeah!
And I was really excited for Knife Joe.
It's what we've all been missing is Knife Joe.
What about you, Josh?
This is definitely not what I expected for our 3rd episode. And I also expected to be way more Nick Andros background. Because the other 2 characters that have come in have had really, their full episode has gotten more into their backstory.
Mm-hmm.
Nick, man, I understand why they're condensing Nick's story.
Mm-hmm.
Because as a deaf-mute character, there's so much in his story that is only as good as it is because it's from Nick's perspective. Him getting knocked out, oh my god, by a guy who has fuck tattooed on his knuckles, but with a clever shoehorn making the U.
Yeah, see, that was my question is, does he have U tattooed on that finger? Or is it just, if he's not wearing the ring, it just says FCK? I'm like...
He's the kind of guy, there's no U under that.
It's his story is very truncated. We're already on episode 3 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many goddamn characters in this show and book. Obviously, we can't have every character get an entire episode.
Absolutely.
So everyone's going to start getting condensed. But I think other than missing the story with the sheriff, the sheriff that takes Nick in is completely cut.
Yeah.
Him wandering alone and his quest for penicillin because of like the being sick
Yeah.
with the infection is cut. He just loses an eye. We haven't met what's her name yet.
Julie Lowry.
Yeah, Julie
Yeah.
Lowry.
She's got to be coming soon.
So yeah, we're missing a lot of stuff, but I like the way they're portraying him as Abigail's right-hand man.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
As the voice of God.
which is hilarious. And then it's so simple. It's, you're going to be my voice. If talk to Nick, it's like you're talking to me. Because Abigail is already pretty much bedridden at this point. What did you guys think of the dream where Nick talks to Flag?
That was really cool so he is getting beat up by this asshole in the bar, and all of a sudden he's in that desert scene that we described before, and Flag is there, and he's at a card table, and he's doing these cool sleight of hand things with the cards, which was just so neat. And he tempts Nick. He's like, hey, I want you to be my right-hand man. You can hear, I'll make you be able to talk, and you'll be able to see. And Nick's like, I'll be able to, what? What's wrong with my eyes? And Flag's like, if you don't join me, you're gonna find out.
Yeah, you'll see.
I want that deck of cards that he's using. They're so
Yeah.
cool. The suits are like rats, wolves, crows, and his little like eye rock
Yeah.
symbol. But the way the storytelling of like he's talking about his mother and how he ended up deaf and lays down a queen with her hand over her mouth.
Yeah.
And when he says, your eyes must be everything to a man who can't hear or talk. And Nick signs, what's wrong with my eyes? He says, you'll see. And he plays a king with a hand over a bloody eye. And then he wakes up to being in an eye patch. It was a really neat sequence.
It was great. I mean, and it makes sense to try to recruit Nick, especially because now with this version of Nick, there's something grittier about him.
Yeah.
And it's not just the eye patch.
It's the fact that he's not Rob Lowe.
He's not Rob Lowe, and the fact that that scene with him and Abigail in the book, it's much more, at least how I read it, it was very passive of the I don't believe in God, he believes in you. It was just kind of flat. The way it's portrayed in the series, he's pretty aggressive about the world not caring what he had to offer at any point, and like, why should he do anything? It doesn't do any good.
He's got some beef.
Yeah. And I feel like that edge is great for that character.
Yeah, and the actor, I don't know who the actor is, but he looks the part. He looks like he's lived a rough life.
Yeah.
He looks kind of beaten down. And I love the way that even though he's like, I don't believe in God, the way they show that he is obviously meant to be a good person, that in the dream with Flag tells him, you can speak. I gave you a voice, but he signs through the whole scene. And then when he comes to Abigail, she says, you can talk here. And he does.
Yeah.
And I thought that was like such a cool little, like, I don't believe in God, but here is a safe place. And
It was subtle, which
Yeah.
this show has a lot of those moments. They're not beating us over the head really with anything.
It felt to me like Nick talking just too early. It feels too early to hear him talk, because I feel like the payoff is the Tom Cullen dream at the end, like hearing him speak in that dream. Like that's the big thing for that character.
Yeah.
And I feel like I had the same problem with the original miniseries. I feel like if I remember right, I said something to the effect of Nick's talking felt unearned.
That would
And
be
I'm
cool.
kind of getting this.
Yeah, if they had saved it, because it's interesting to parallel those promises between, good and bad too. Like I would also buy Mother Abigail not making promises like, oh, you can talk here and you can hear and everything, and just meeting him where he's at on his.
She also just gave him permission to talk, whereas Flag said, I'll give you a voice.
Yeah.
She was just like, go for it. And I think that's part of it too, is Nick is being shown to be somebody who doesn't like being told what to do, because he's had to do that probably his entire life.
Would you just constantly be popping sleeping pills after this though? Like I can see, hear, and talk when I'm asleep. All right.
Honestly, I don't think he cares about talking.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like he does.
Yeah. I don't think it's important to him.
I get that. Then nobody can bother you. He's like, sorry, I can't talk or hear you.
Right. And we got the introduction of Tom Cullen. How'd you guys feel about Tom Cullen?
I actually love that he has this speech memorized where he's explaining, hi, my name is Tom. I'm 42 years old. I am disabled. And
Developmentally disabled.
Yes. Yeah. And I don't always understand social cues. So if I make you uncomfortable, basically, tell me and I will fix it.
It felt a little more like he was a real person. I felt that it was very humanizing. Tom Cullen in the original miniseries is basically a big, goofy cartoon.
Yeah.
He is played very broadly. And here, it's still broad, but as someone who has worked with a large number of people with disabilities, it is I felt pretty respectful playing him as a person. Although I could do without all of the laws, yes. That's just
when a little laws overboard.
It's just the whole King catchphrase thing.
Sure.
More than the character.
I don't know. I loved it because it made me feel like it was Tom more than him being developmentally disabled. I felt like the laws, yes, and whatever anything spells moon.
Laws, yes. I always read it as a part of an accent, though. He should have some sort of thick Southern accent if he's saying laws, yes. And the actor has no accent. He just decides to say lords, yes, as laws. And
well, he can't read, Ben.
Yeah, that's true.
What?
Somebody that's learned behavior.
Yeah.
So somebody must have said
so
it.
he couldn't develop an accent? I don't think that's how that works at all.
He misread the word because he can't quite read it.
Yeah, Tom Cullen I liked, but I want to talk to Josh about the introduction of his favorite character in the whole series.
Holy shit, man. I like Glenn Bateman right now.
Is your spirit healed?
I feel kind of betrayed, actually. Because I felt like I don't know a lot, but I know I hate Glenn Bateman. And then, first of all, Greg Kinnear, who's just endearing as all hell.
You can't not like a Greg Kinnear.
The second I found out he was cast, I was like, God damn it. This is going to be tough. But the introduction, as we're sitting there, Ben's like, are we going to meet Josh's favorite character? And then Kojak came running up. And I'm like, hell yeah, Big Steve. But
I pray to God there's a Big Steve episode.
That'd be amazing. That's the finale.
Yeah, he needs a whole arc.
The finale is the Big Steve episode. About how Big Steve actually saved the day. It's great. The awkward coming out with all of his painting stuff. The only thing I was missing when they show that painting, I was really hoping they'd have a really shitty dog in the corner of it to as an Easter egg to that moment. But he's super friendly, super engaging, and invites Stu back to his house. And they get drunk, and Glenn Bateman gets high as balls. And all of that dialogue is pretty much what's
word
in the
for
book.
word, yeah.
Especially the give me one person, give me two person, all that stuff. And the difference of having that come out of a stoned professor
Exactly.
versus the dry academic delivery of every other iteration of Glenn Bateman, I was like, fuck yeah.
The book, the original miniseries, he's just like a pedantic old man. And having it out of a stoned Greg Kinnear, you're like, yeah, I had this professor in college.
He's like...
I've smoked with this guy. I get it.
Yeah.
He's so cool that you kind of want him to be your dad, but you know he's too cool to be your dad.
He's so cool that he pulls off a Hawaiian shirt.
Yes, he does. So the moment that he's delivering that speech and all high and all that, the first thing I thought of, I actually kind of checked out of the episode for a minute because my brain started going back to every Glenn Bateman moment from the book that I was like, oh my God, just fucking get through this. I don't want to hear this speech anymore. And then was like, in this delivery, I'd watch the scene of him and Stu just sitting out in
Yeah.
the rocks.
Shooting the shit.
The shit for 25 to 50 pages about government.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'm on board.
It's how we're supposed to feel.
Yeah. Oh, that's depressing. If only Stephen King had the foresight to be like, oh, also, Glenn's high all the time. I would have been on board from the start. I'm also going to have to retool my theory about how Glenn Bateman was actually the true villain the entire time.
Yeah.
So that is not going to hold water this time, I think. And I like that they have the discussion. They've both lost loved ones pre-Captain Trips.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it just makes more sense that Stu and Glenn are such good friends.
Yeah.
Because it never really made sense to me, really, other than they were just like the first people who met each other, and so they have that bond. Otherwise, they had so little in common. But just watching James Marsden and Greg Kinnear hang out, I'm like, oh, I want to hang out with them.
I don't even want to hang out with them.
Hell.
I just want to watch them hang out with each other because I feel like my presence would ruin it.
Get Stu and Glenn a podcast.
There's another thing that I never thought I'd say this. Something really exciting to make Glenn more important to the story. His paintings.
Yes.
That is such a cool... Because Glenn is effectively useless. Going back to the book and original miniseries, his whole point is to spew dialogue that may or may not matter. Like, that's Glenn Bateman. But they show his paintings, and he's painted Mother Abigail, he's painted Fran, and I'm wondering if this is going to be something we're going to get more of him kind of dreaming prophetic things and painting them. So I wonder if we're going to get some cool foreshadowing through all that.
That would be the biggest change that this is made from the source material. And I like it. It fits. It's just a good storytelling device. Yeah.
Well, and it's like everybody brings something different to the table. And Glenn didn't really have that except for his knowledge of how to create society. This gives him a little bit more to bring to the table as part of Mother Abigail's chosen team.
Yeah.
Can we talk just real quick about Stu meeting Harold and Franny? Because he meets them first briefly, and I thought when we saw him approaching, because we saw him in silhouette, so we didn't know it was Stu, that this was going to be like that horrible biker rape gang thing. And they were just introducing that, and then maybe Stu is going to come in and help him. But it was just him, and he's like, hey, everything's cool. I'm Stu Redman. How are you? And immediately, of course, Harold is put off. But the guy playing him does such an amazing job, because Franny's trying to be a little more sociable and polite and friendly. And he's like, you know what? You can either stay with me, the guy who has saved your life and helped you through all of this, or you can go with this guy who... maybe
this
a serial killer
asshole
with dimples.
We'll go with his dimples.
And it was just, it was really cool. So they part ways, and then that's how Stu meets Glenn. I thought it was interesting that they part ways right there too. Yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see how everyone's journey west
brings them back together.
Here's a scene I want to talk about with you guys. The crucified man.
Yeah.
There is a scene with, this is in, quote, the present. They're in Boulder. And it's Stu and Larry walking down the road. They'd been hunting. And a yellow Lamborghini drives by and stops. And one side is splashed with blood. And the door opens and a dude falls out bloody with no pants on. And they're like, oh my God. From
Vegas.
And he has a Vegas key ring. So they know that he came from Vegas or had a vacation in Las Vegas at any time in his life. When this first happened, my first thought that this was going to be the scene where Stu has to try to perform surgery. Which in retrospect would not make sense because we've already seen in this episode Fran being taken care of, getting an ultrasound. We know there are doctors.
They have
in
a
Boulder
doctor.
already.
No, guys, I got this.
There's no time.
But that's not what this is.
No, not at all. It is, and I kind of thought it was going to be a trick, like a plant or something, that Flag was sending someone, kind of the way that Boulder eventually sends someone to, a couple people to Las Vegas. But it's this guy that they bring in, and they bandage him up, and they're talking about how he's been crucified. He has, and it's done correctly. It's between the bones and stuff. It's in the wrist, not the palm. And it is pretty gruesome. Mother Abigail comes in the midst of this debate between our main characters. They're trying to decide if they tell people what's happening or if they just let whatever rumors happen. Like, what's going to cause the most damage, basically. And let's do the opposite of that.
And I also get the Glenn stuff of being like, we aren't even we need to be elected, damn it.
And then Mother Abigail shows up. And I love Whoopi Goldberg's just this cranky old lady who's like, just get me where I need to go and shut up.
I'm turning around on Whoopi Goldberg's Mother Abigail.
Yeah,
she's very
brilliant. Good. But she talks to this guy, and he says, I have a message. And he explains that he was in Vegas, and at first it was really cool, and the flag was really cool. And then he, just got shitty. And, well, it's a little more than that.
Yeah,
but...
got shitty meaning got slaves.
Jeez.
Yeah, you really downplayed the final breaking moment for Vegas.
Yeah, he explains that he was cool with everything, and then Flag brought in slaves, and he was starting to get uncomfortable. And of course, we know Flag probably sensed that this guy was turning, and so he decided to make an example out of him and send him with a message to Mother Abigail. And the message, I love that we all thought the exact same thing, because he starts flipping out, he's convulsing, his wrists are bleeding again, like the wounds are reopening. And
he has a vision of dozens of crows hitting the side of the hospital, so like in the fucking dark half.
That was awesome.
I thought they were. And then a second later, they're gone. There's no cracks or blood. It's like, oh, that was in his head.
Because as soon as it breaks through the window, then his eyes go black.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
And then he just explodes on the bed into just blood and gore everywhere. Except he doesn't. But we were all like, did you guys think he was going to explode? We're like, yeah.
The way he was shaking, there was either he had to explode or explode. Those were the only two options.
And I don't even remember what the message was because
the message was
so absorbed.
Literally just he already told, because when he rolls out of the car, he just says, he's coming. Which is like, yeah, okay, that's the message. But no, the message actually is he's coming for you.
And then Flag takes over his body, grabs Mother Abigail, and is like, I already have your blood in my hands.
Is this like the best telegram service ever?
You won't get misquoted.
That's true.
If you just possess your messenger. Yeah.
One thing, I don't know if you guys caught this, but this is in the same scene a little earlier. And I hope that they're setting this up because it was very subtle, like we said. When Abigail comes in, the five governing characters are in the room arguing about whether they should even be governing and how Abigail is, running the whole show and there's got to be a better way. And Abigail shows up and she's like, hey, listen up. You talk to Nick. Nick talks to me. The end. And she starts walking into the room with this guy and she says, what does she say? But she says something along the lines of, I have a plan. I am doing this for... She does not mention God. She does not say, we are doing this because it is God's plan.
Proud.
Nick mentions that it's God's plan. But Abigail just mentions that she is leading.
Oh. I think they have to.
Yeah, I feel like this is definitely setting up Abigail's wander into the wilderness.
What I'm hoping is that the very end of it, instead of it being that white light hand of God thing, that she physically will have like a final part of the end.
the clouds break and Mother Abigail through the sky like Sephiroth with a cane twice her body length drops and pierces through Flag's heart.
I don't
That's
want
what you want.
Okay, fine. Yep. Yep, you heard it here. That's my prediction. Damn it.
No, what exactly do you mean by that?
I guess I just mean that it's more of a physical thing. Like, her journey isn't just to go get lost in the woods and dehydrated and then die. Mm-hmm. Like, she shows up in Vegas. Like,
in that final confrontation, like the way Flag appears before people, maybe she appears as well. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah.
More of an active role.
Very Star Wars. Very Blue Ghost. I don't mean that disparaging.
Oh, sorry. You said Star Wars, not Star Trek. And I was just like, no. You could probably make this a very Star Trek thing.
This is a different podcast.
It is. All right.
So what is there anything else we missed?
Yeah. Let's talk about Nadine a little bit.
Oh, right. Of course.
Because this episode really bookends around Nadine's story. We see her, the pancetta cheese board. Nope. The planchette, not Ouija board. That's a ghostwriting thing, and she...
It's a flashback when she's a kid. Yeah. Like we kind of suspected last episode.
Mm-hmm. And it shows the Flag carving Nadine will be my queen into the floor while these 4 girls scream at the top of their lungs.
Which was, I really liked, but was also a really funny visual.
Yes.
Because like the idea of it's automatic writing and it writes Nadine across the paper, but then flips out and like literally starts carving into the floor. But also there are just these 4 preteen girls just like flailing around off of this planchette.
Yeah, because they can't let go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was cool.
That was pretty great. I do like the one girl was like, if this is you, I'm going to beat your ass.
Yeah, she's like, I'll cut you, bitch.
Yeah, okay, so here was another thing. Because in the book, it was like
college.
Boarding.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was just college.
This looks like a girl's home. Like maybe Nadine was in foster care or something.
Or like juvie, which is... interesting.
Yeah. Before we continue on to more of Nadine, I want to ask you guys this question. It may seem really stupid and it might not go anywhere, but it is something that has been talked about on the internet a lot about Nadine. Nadine's hair.
What's wrong with it?
How's it going to turn white? Because it's too blonde?
Well, yeah, that the... Part of the people are very upset that Nadine's arc of having black to white hair is not happening.
Well, I mean, there's still a difference between blonde hair and white hair.
Sure. My question, because, well, my thing is, if that is going to happen in the scenes we saw of her in this episode where she's like getting ready to go check out the school and all that stuff, we should see she should be seeing some white streaks and stuff by now. And we haven't gotten any of that. So I wonder, is it even going to happen? Also, is it important if it happens?
No.
And my recollection was that happened when she had that big confrontation with him out around bomb time.
Well, it steadily through the course.
I don't remember that at all.
She starts getting white hairs every time she doesn't have sex or wants to have sex with Larry. If I recall.
Larry?
Yeah, when Nadine and Larry are traveling.
It's that far back?
Yeah.
I did not remember.
I feel like
that.
every time she wants to have sex with them and then doesn't, she sees more white
What
hairs.
a dumb superpower.
Not a superpower, I would argue.
Yeah, that is such one of those fucking internet fanboy things of like such a pointless, stupid thing to get mad about. It doesn't matter.
Which speaks to how great the show is, because it's like, what can I get mad about? Nothing. Oh, wait. Except this dumb thing that doesn't matter.
So we jump a little bit through Nadine's timeline, but we get knife-wielding Joe, which is great. And then we get this great scene in the stadium of Larry playing Baby Can You Dig Your Man. So we finally got to hear it.
It is way cooler, more impactful to see this little kid, rather than reading about it, pick up the guitar like he's been playing his whole life and play it perfectly. It was neat. And then I love that Larry's going to show him something else and he like freaks out. He's like, it's okay, man. And then he just walks off.
He just takes
guitar.
it. I love Joe.
Yeah.
Joe is killing it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost glad they didn't do Joe in the miniseries so that we didn't have anything to compare it to, because I think
Yeah.
what we're getting here is just
This little
ideal.
kid is
Was Joe not
doing-
in the
No,
miniseries?
Not at all.
No, they cut him out.
Oh.
But he's the actor, the little kid, is doing a great job because he's conveying a lot of suspicion and mistrust. But I call it hesitant suspicion and
Yeah.
mistrust of Nadine. Like, he can tell bad things are happening. He's very mistrustful of Harold, and then he's seeing something change in her.
Yeah, because he walks in on her
Oh God!
fucking seconds away from finger blasting herself.
Do we? Can we somehow retroactively make it a rule never to say finger blasting on this podcast?
Those in favor?
Oh, come on. Well, we should talk about why she's about to finger blast.
Let's just leave that hanging.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
No,
Our
wait.
new edition of Boner Talks. Lady Boner Talks.
Oh, you know what? I'm on board now.
Yeah, okay,
You
good.
won me over.
All right. Well, Sam, you're leading this episode of Boner Talks.
Yeah, man, she's having a wet dream about Flag, and who wouldn't? Are you sure you want me to lead this?
No, I take it back. So we see her in present time they have the planchette board that we spotted last episode. She puts her hands on it and goes to the desert, and they have a very sexy interaction.
It is very erotic, that
Yes.
scene. They do a good job.
I was like, leading up to it, I was like, how horny is this show gonna get? And I forgot that it's a show on the internet and not
it can-
network television. So pretty
Super
horny.
Yeah. Nadine is actively pre-orgasmic.
She's writhing in place.
Yes. Ben. And Flag, what I like about this is she is getting so much pleasure out of this, and Flag's just super casual.
Yeah.
Just walking around her, talking to her, and she wants to come to him. That's all she wants.
Crazy.
She wants to go to Vegas.
She wants to go to there.
She wants to go to there. And I love they get as close as you can kiss without kissing.
Oh, that's so sexy.
It really is. And he pulls away, and all the while saying that in order for her to be allowed to make her way to Vegas, she has to kill Mother Abigail and all of her lieutenants, basically.
She doesn't seem that put off by it either. She's kind of like, there's like a brief moment where she's like, well, that was unexpected. Then she's like, okay, but what?
Yeah, she is much less hesitant. Like in the book, there is the push and pull of
Yeah.
like she knows that she could be with Larry if she made the choice, but the draw is just too powerful.
You know,
Not so much here.
but she's with Flag here. I don't think she would have that at all because there are looks that she exchanges with Larry and looks she gives to Joe that I think could convey that. But I can't imagine when she's like in his presence, either physically or just in a vision, that she would have any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's more realistic for it to be stronger when she's with him there.
Fair.
Also, point of order, how many great decisions have you made just pre-orgasm?
It's true.
You'll agree to just about anything.
Later, I'm going to ask Devin, I need you to kill 5 people.
This scene,
But not during anything, just
Oh,
walking
just
in the living room.
casually, yeah.
when he tells her that she has to kill them, she's like, what, how, and he says, don't worry, I've found the weapon. All you have to do is pull his trigger.
Ew.
And I said gross out loud.
I
I literally just almost made a hand-job motion as he said that.
it's so bad. We hated it in the book. We hated it in the original series. Harold is a kid, but it does make the stakes higher because it's just so wrong on so many levels. And of course, when she comes to, Harold Lauder is written on the paper.
Yeah,
I thought it was cool how she came to though, because Flag's like acting like he's gonna get up in it, and then he's like the kid, and he kind of pushes her away, and she wakes up, and Joe's standing there.
That was pretty rad. And then she's like, okay, it's a game. It's a game adults play. And I'll teach you someday. Go to bed.
Don't worry, the board game wasn't hurting mommy.
No. And that's it for this episode of Derry Public Radio. As always, thank you for listening. Join us next episode where we will be covering the next episode of The Stand. For Joshua Kahn and Benjamin Graham, this is Sam Alexander reminding you, up and running is what got us here. I say we try down and standing still. Hey everyone, Sam Alexander here. Thank you for listening to The Sit, Episode 3. As always, if you aren't already, please follow us on social media at Derry Public Radio or send us an email at derrypublicradio@gmail.com. And we hope you enjoy this outtake. For Joshua Kahn and Benjamin Graham, this is Sam Alexander reminding you, how long has Flag been at this? Sorry.
That really fucking gotcha. Reminding you, how long has Flag been at this? Good night.
Oh, just because it's at the bottom.
At this finger blasting in the desert.
Okay, let me read. Jesus Christ. That's all for now, listeners. Goodbye.